Edward Larrabee Barnes, 1915-2004. He lived a long life, more than James Sterling and Craig Elwood. This was the man, a good architect, a little bit severe, a little bit austere, but nothing wrong perhaps with a little bit of seriousness. So Edward Larrabee Barnes, as you see, born on April 22nd, was an American architect. He was born in Chicago, Illinois, into a family he described as incense-swinging high Episcopalians. Funny description, consisting of Cecil Barnes, a lawyer, and Margaret Helen Ayer, a recipient of a Pulitzer Prize for the novel Year of Grace. He graduated from Harvard in 1938 after studying English and art history. Before switching to architecture, then taught at his alma mater, Milton Academy, before returning to Harvard for further studies under Walter Gropius and Marcel Breuer. He graduated from the Harvard Graduate School of Design in 1942 and served in the Navy during World War II. After the war, he worked for Henry Dreyfus in Los Angeles, designing prototypes for mass-produced homes. He became very successful and built a lot. In 1949, Barnes founded Edward Larrabee Barnes Associates in Manhattan. During his long career, Barnes, with his wife Mary Barnes, as interior designer, designed office buildings, museums, botanical gardens, private houses, churches, schools, camps, colleges, campus planning, and housing. Many of his buildings are widely recognized, including the Dallas Museum of Art, Walker Art Center, and the IBM building at 590 Madison Avenue in Manhattan. This was the man. This is the man. He was chosen for the gold medal of the American Institute of Architecture in 2007. Yes. Here in the description we read something interesting. Barnes is remembered for using modernism and with vernacular architecture and understated design. That's not easy, you know, to unite modernism with the vernacular and to have an understated design. Apparently, he was able to do it. The visitor center at the Botanical Garden in Chicago, it could have easily been a temple or a church, easily. But this is the visitor center, the Botanical Garden in Chicago. My God, my God. Architecture can be indeed surprising sometimes. I mean, who would have thought that this is a visitor center? Old Stone Square. Well, it's a square. He built a building, you know, adjacent to the square, I guess, or maybe this is the name of the building, and there is no square. I don't know, but I like it. You know, it's clearly based on the square and the cube, and it's almost Japanese somehow, particularly at the top. It has an austerity and a rigor that it's almost astonishing. Yeah, there is something Japanese about it. Not that I am an expert in Japanese architecture, but I did study it and I did make many presentations on Japanese architecture. There is something about it. The New South building in Princeton, as you can see, a very rigorous architect, at times austere, but this is architecture as well. It is. It's not just a building. It is architecture. It transcends. It transcends a house, actual house. Now it's a school of crafts there in Maine, a village of shingled cottages placed on the National Register of Historic Places. A big honor, and it's nice. It's a nice cluster of indeed here we see the collaboration, if we are to call it so, between modernism and the vernacular. So it was a house made up of various fragments, and now it's like a village, or considered so. A small one, of course. I mean, a small village, but a rather larger house with various parts interconnected by patios and, terraces and so on. Not bad. Edward Larrabee Barnes. And the ocean is the ocean. Modest geometric signature. Barnes was noted for crisp geometric buildings in both rural and urban landscapes that didn't call attention to themselves, much like the architect himself. This is beautiful. This is beautiful because I think we need more modest architects in the world, and modesty doesn't make them less creative. So again, he created crisp geometric buildings in both rural and urban landscapes that didn't call attention to themselves, much like the architect himself. And here is a list of some of his works. We are going to go through some of them. So he received this prize of the AIA, the American Institute of Architecture, in 2007. So what we read was the remark of Toshiko Mori, a Japanese American architect who was chair of the Department of Architecture at Harvard. She said, Barnes' work is held in high regard among architects internationally and is influential in reassessing both the contemporary and future models of architecture. It has a generous sense of proportion spatially, which is very different from precedent European models, imbued with his social and spiritual understanding of the cultural aspects of the program and his sympathetic and humanistic attitude as an architect. Very nice words. Crown Center in Kansas City, low-rise commercial office complex that handsomely shapes the cityscape, but no picture, sorry. Now this one, formerly known as the IBM building, 590 Madison Avenue, New York City, an elegant, nearly triangular tall giant with a bamboo court atrium epicenter. And the skyscraper it is, no one would dispute this. Rather astonishing now that this corner is cantilevered, considering the, the volume above it. A sharply chiseled showcase of skyscraper angles on Lexington Avenue, again, skyscraper in Manhattan. The Walker Art Center in Minneapolis, a helical sequence of galleries known for its quiet elegance. You see a very strict, rigorous, and this is interesting because this architecture could not have been really very understated, but somehow he was able to negotiate between monumentality, geometric rigor, big masses, but also, emanate a feeling of understatement. This is not easy to do. Edward Larrabee Barnes. And it is his birthday, just like the birthday of James Sterling and Craig Elwood. The Dallas Museum of Art, a limestone composition of geometric forms that, while dominated by an imposing 40-foot-high barrel vault, seems to recede before the works within it. Fortunately, also we have the art that brings in the otherness of color and a different geometry. Art is always necessary, I would say. The Dallas Museum of Art. Sober elegance. I guess we can use these words. Now, this is a judiciary building in Washington, D.C. with its dramatic 5-story glass atrium at its main entrance. Now, I don't think he did these buildings, or maybe I'm wrong, or maybe he was forced to assume a certain historicism because of the context of Washington, D.C., where it was placed. But inside here, the courtyard and the atrium and the covering of the atrium is thoroughly modern, as you can see. A lot of glass indeed, but again, at that time, glass was unquestioned and maybe even unquestionable. Today is a different story because we care about energy losses, we care about sustainability, the climate change, and so on. But at that time, there were no such concerns. Edward Larrabee Barnes. The Sarah M. Scaife Gallery at the Carnegie Institute in Pittsburgh, a light-filled space respected for its graciousness. An S is missing there. Let's these are the plans, but let's see a few images so we can perceive its gracefulness, for its grace. I hope I have better pictures. Now, the Knoxville Museum of Art in Tennessee. Again, it's interesting, this architect, because you have a clear symmetry here, and yet the building has. I mean, it is a rigid building, yes, but maybe because also of the playfulness with which he handled the, the chromatics of these opaque walls. I still see something, of an Oriental sensitivity here. That's why I mentioned earlier the Japanese architecture. I don't know what this thing is here. And yes, these walls are a good background for all kinds of visualizations. It's still the same Edward Larrabee Barnes, rigorous architecture, monumental, but at the same time, as it was stated by Mori, that Japanese architect Toshiko, I think Toshiko Mori, that it is still somehow understated, which is maybe some people would debate it, but even this building, I think, although it has a lot of opaque walls, opaqueness, and it is, at least to an extent monumental because of the proportions, it's not overstated, it's not dwarfing, it's not oppressive. And he was able also to, become playful when needed, like with this stair here, which is not, you know, comfortably sitting against the wall. But he built many other buildings. This is just an introduction to his work, really. A long activity and quite successful. Barnes' museum designs seem to reflect his modest personality. In Barnes' own words, we are trying to create architecture that does not compete with art, to put the priorities in the right order. It is flow more than function that concerns us. There must be a sense of going somewhere, like a river. At the same time, the architecture must be relatively uneventful and anonymous. That's it. Let's wish him happy birthday too. And that was it for today. Thank you for being here.